After years of silence and unanswered questions, the unthinkable happens. Ty Borden, the man who left Heartland without a trace, is back. But what does this mean for Amy? Is it too late for them to heal their broken relationship? In the season 19 premiere of Heartland, Ty's return is filled with emotion, regret, and an apology that could change everything. This is a moment fans have been waiting for, and it will leave you on the edge of your seat, questioning what comes next for this beloved family. Get ready for a season like no other, because Ty Borden is back, and his heartfelt apology to Amy is just the beginning. It's been years since Ty Borden's departure, and Heartland has never felt the same. The ranch has continued on, but the absence of one of its most important members has left a void too large to fill. For Amy, the pain of losing Ty was something she carried silently. She moved forward for the sake of Lindy, for the family, but deep down, she always wondered if she could ever truly move on. And now, in the first episode of season 19, the unimaginable happens. The morning starts like any other. The sun rises over the rolling hills of Alberta, casting a warm glow over Heartland Ranch. The horses graze in the fields, the wind whispers through the trees, and Amy, as usual, sits on the porch with a cup of coffee in hand. She gazes out at the ranch, a slight frown on her face, lost in her thoughts. She's learned to keep busy, to push aside the nagging feelings of loss, but today, something feels different. A weight she can't explain hangs in the air. As Amy begins her chores in the barn, there's a quiet unease that she can't shake. Jack, ever the watchful figure in her life, notices her hesitation. "You okay, Amy?" His voice carries concern, but she forces a small smile and nods, brushing off the feeling. Still, the unease remains, gnawing at her, telling her that something is about to change. Then, in the distance, she hears it. A low hum, like a distant rumble. It's almost imperceptible at first, but it grows louder, closer, until it's unmistakable. A motorcycle engine. The sound slices through the calm morning air, sending a chill through Amy's spine. Her heart skips a beat as she freezes, unable to comprehend what she's hearing. Could it be? She hasn't heard that sound in years. Could it be Ty? Her breath catches in her throat. As the motorcycle grows closer, she stands frozen on the porch, eyes wide, searching the driveway. And then she sees him, Ty Borden, alive, real. He's back. Amy's world stands still. The sight of him, with his hair a little longer, his beard a bit rougher, but those same eyes. Those eyes filled with the love, regret, and longing she thought she'd never see again. It's like a dream. A memory coming to life in the most unexpected way. She can't move. She can't breathe. Her mind races, trying to understand what she's seeing. The motorcycle stops, the engine goes silent, and in the quiet that follows, time seems to stop. Ty takes off his helmet slowly, revealing himself to her, as if this moment is too sacred to rush. Amy gasps, her hands rising to cover her mouth, but the tears are already welling up in her eyes. This can't be real. Is it possible? For years she wondered if she'd ever see him again, and now, standing before her, is the man she once loved, and still, in many ways, loves. Ty steps forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "Amy, it's me." Amy's chest rises and falls rapidly as she struggles to process everything. The world around her feels like it's spinning. She can't comprehend it all. But then, before she can think, her body moves instinctively. She runs to him, throwing herself into his arms, desperate to hold him close, afraid he might vanish as quickly as he appeared. Ty wraps his arms around her, holding her tightly, and in that moment, nothing else matters. The past, the years apart, the heartbreak, they all fade away. The only thing that matters is that he's here. He's home. Amy sobs into his chest, her body trembling as she clings to him. The weight of all the years, the grief, the unanswered questions, is finally being released in that one embrace. "I thought I'd never see you again," she whispers, her voice breaking. Ty's grip tightens, and he whispers softly into her hair, "I know, Amy. I know." The two stand there for a long moment, lost in each other, as if the world around them has ceased to exist. The emotions, the pain, and the love they've both carried in the years of separation are finally pouring out. There's no need for words, no need for explanations, just the unspoken understanding between them. But this is just the beginning. The reunion may be overwhelming, but it's only the first step toward what is to come. As they hold each other, the rest of the Heartland family is still processing the shock of seeing Ty again. How will they react? How will Amy and Ty's relationship evolve after everything that has happened? What does this return mean for the future of Heartland? Stay tuned, because this episode is only the beginning of the emotional journey that will unfold in the rest of Season 19. As Amy holds Ty in her arms, the world around them fades into the background, but the rest of the Heartland family is still in shock. Their lives have been shaped by Ty's absence, and now, as they see him standing there, alive and real, the weight of years of grief and longing crashes over them. Jack is the first to break the silence. He's always been the steady rock of Heartland, the one who holds the family together through thick and thin. But now, as he stands on the porch, watching the reunion unfold before his eyes, something inside of him shifts. He's always been the strong one, the one who hides his emotions. But this moment of seeing Ty again, shakes him to his core. For a long time, Jack doesn't move. He doesn't speak. He stands there, his hand gripping the railing so tightly that his knuckles turn white. His face, usually stoic and unreadable, now betrays a deep, overwhelming emotion. The pain of losing a son, the pride in seeing Ty return, the love and relief. Everything comes flooding back to him in an instant. In a voice thick with emotion, Jack finally speaks. "Well, took you long enough, son?" His words are simple, but they carry the weight of years of loss, regret, and hope. The family has carried the pain of Ty's absence for so long, and now it's finally being washed away. Jack's voice cracks slightly, but he doesn't let it break. Instead, he steps forward, pulling Ty into a fatherly embrace. It's not just a hug, it's a release. It's a moment of healing, of letting go of all the pain they've carried for so long. As Jack pulls back, his eyes are wet with unshed tears. The strong, unshakable man that everyone looks to for guidance has finally allowed himself to feel. It's a raw, vulnerable moment for Jack, and one that no one could have expected from him. Ty's voice cracks as he speaks. "I'm sorry, Jack." Jack shakes his head, his grip still firm on Ty's shoulders, and looks him in the eye. "No, son. You're home." Lou, too, is struggling to process the flood of emotions that Ty's return brings. As the oldest sibling, she's always been the protector, the one who held everything together when things fell apart. She was the one who helped Amy through the darkest days of grief, comforting her when the pain of losing Ty felt too much to bear. But now, Lou finds herself facing her own deep-seated feelings of loss and longing. When she first sees Ty, her body goes cold. Her mind refuses to believe it. For a long moment, she just stands there, blinking in disbelief, unable to process what she's seeing. Her logical mind tells her that it can't be possible, that Ty can't truly be back. Her eyes blur with tears, and her hands begin to tremble as she grips the doorframe to steady herself. "Ty," the name escapes her lips in a breathless whisper, barely audible, as if she's testing the reality of the moment. And then, the dam breaks. Tears spill from her eyes as she rushes forward, throwing her arms around him in a tight, desperate embrace. "Oh my God, you're real! You're really here," Lou sobs, her voice cracking with relief, disbelief, and love. Ty holds her just as tightly, his voice filled with emotion. "I missed you, Lou." Lou pulls back slightly, looking him over as if trying to search his face for answers. "Where have you been?" she asks, the anger, relief, and love mixing in her voice. "Why didn't you tell us? Do you have any idea what you put us through?" Without a second thought, she runs to him, throwing herself into his arms. The tears come in waves, and she can barely speak through her sobs. "I missed you so much. I thought you were gone for Eve." The question hangs in the air, and for a moment, Ty doesn't know how to answer. He can't explain why he disappeared, why he stayed away for so long. All he can do is apologize. "I know, Lou. I'm so sorry." And then, in typical big sister fashion, Lou smacks him lightly on the arm, shaking her head with a mix of exasperation and affection. You better be, because if you ever do this again, I swear. She stops herself, the words lost in the emotion of the moment. Instead, she pulls him in for another hug, this time holding him like she never wants to let go. Georgie, too, is overcome with emotion when she sees Ty. For her, Ty wasn't just Amy's husband. He was her big brother, her mentor, and the person who always believed in her. Losing him broke something inside of her that she never thought could be healed. But now, seeing him standing in front of her, all those years of pain come rushing back. The moment Ty steps into her line of sight, Georgie's heart stops. Tears immediately flood her eyes as a gasp escapes her lips. She covers her mouth with her hands, unable to believe what she's seeing. Her body begins to shake, overwhelmed by the flood of emotions that pour over her. Ty pulls her close, running a comforting hand over her hair. I'm here, Georgie. I'm here. Georgie clings to him, her entire body trembling as she finally lets go of the grief that has been holding her captive for so long. In this moment, everything else fades away. Nothing matters except that Ty is back, and she doesn't have to carry this pain anymore. Tim, as always, has his own complicated emotions. The tough, stubborn exterior that he's built over the years is about to be cracked wide open. Tim has always kept his feelings hidden, buried beneath layers of anger and pride. But seeing Ty again, the boy he always respected and admired, the one who became like a son to him, has a profound impact on him. Tim's jaw tightens, and his hands clench into fists as he stands there watching Ty. His breath is uneven, and for the first time in a long time, he doesn't know what to say. He's not used to feeling this vulnerable, this exposed. But then, after what feels like an eternity, he mutters, "Damn kid, don't you ever do that again." His voice wobbles, betraying the emotion he's struggling to contain. But even as he clears his throat, trying to regain his composure, Ty smirks slightly, knowing exactly what Tim is doing. I won't, Tim. I promise. Without another word, Tim pulls Ty into a rough, fatherly hug. No more words are needed. The embrace says everything. Ty is home. The family is whole again. As the reunion with the family settles into moments of healing and raw emotion, there is still one person whose heart remains uncertain. Amy, standing a few feet away from the whirlwind of family embraces, feels a mixture of disbelief and longing. Ty's return has brought a sense of peace to everyone around her, but her heart aches with questions that have remained unanswered for so long. She can feel the weight of his presence beside her, but a part of her still feels distant from him, unsure of how to process everything. When the last of the hugs have been shared and the family begins to settle into a new normal, Amy and Ty find themselves alone, standing on the porch where their journey together had first begun. The sun is low in the sky, casting long shadows over the ranch, and the familiar landscape of Heartland feels as if it is holding its breath. There's no rushing this moment, no easy words to fix everything that has been broken between them. Ty turns to her, his expression soft, but his eyes are filled with the same regret that he's carried for years. He has known that the hardest part of his return would be facing Amy, the woman he had loved, the woman he had left behind. He never expected her to forgive him immediately, but he knows he needs to speak, to apologize for the years of absence, for the heartbreak, for the way he left without a word. Amy, Ty starts, his voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid that speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile silence between them. I don't know where to begin, or if there's even a way to make up for the time I've lost. For the pain I caused you. Amy looks at him, her eyes filled with so many emotions. Hurt, confusion, and yet there's a flicker of something else. Something she's been trying to suppress. Hope. She has spent years convincing herself that she had moved on, that she was strong enough to live without him. But now, standing here, hearing his voice, she realizes that she's never truly let go. "Why did you leave, Ty?" she asks, her voice thick with emotion, her eyes searching his face for the answers she has craved for so long. "Why did you disappear without telling me? You just left." Ty swallows hard, his throat tightening as he tries to find the words. I didn't want to hurt you, Amy, he begins. I thought I was doing what was best for you, for Lindy, for all of you. I thought you would be better off without me. Amy shakes her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. But you didn't even give me a chance to understand. You just disappeared, Ty. You left me wondering, waiting, hurting. For years. Ty's heart aches at the sound of her pain. He steps closer, carefully closing the distance between them, but he's hesitant, afraid to push too far, too fast. I know, and I'm so sorry, Amy, he says softly, his voice breaking with sincerity. I was lost. I didn't know how to handle everything. I thought I was saving you from more pain, but all I did was cause more. You didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve to be left without a word. Amy's eyes well up with tears as she takes a step back, as if trying to shield herself from the vulnerability that she feels. She knows he's sorry. She knows he's speaking from the heart. But the weight of his absence still looms large over her. It's been years, and the hurt has been buried so deep inside of her that she isn't sure how to let it all out. You hurt me, Ty, she says, her voice shaking, and I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you for that. You took so much from me, my heart, my trust, everything we had. And I've spent so long trying to move on without you, trying to keep going for Lindy, for the ranch, for myself. But now you're back, and I don't even know what to feel anymore. Ty takes another step toward her, his expression filled with pain and regret. I never wanted to take anything from you, Amy. I wanted to give you everything. I was afraid of not being enough for you, afraid of failing you. But leaving you was the biggest mistake I ever made. Amy looks at him, her heart torn between the desire to hold on to the past and the fear of letting herself feel the same hurt again. Then why come back now, Ty? Why now? She asks, her voice almost a whisper. Ty reaches out slowly, his hand trembling as he touches her arm gently. Because I've spent all these years regretting that decision, because I can't live with the thought of you being alone, of you raising Lindy without me by your side. I'm not asking for things to be the way they were. I know I can't erase the past, but I want to try, Amy. I want to try to rebuild what we lost. I want to make it right. Please, let me try. Amy stands still, the emotions swirling inside of her. The part of her that wanted answers, that wanted to understand, is beginning to find some semblance of peace in his words. But she's still afraid of getting hurt again, afraid of opening up to him after all this time. I don't know if I can trust you again, Ty, she admits quietly, the words heavy on her chest. It's been too long and too much has happened. Ty's face softens, and he steps closer to her, his voice full of earnestness. I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm here for good. I know it's going to take time, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'll wait. I'll wait for as long as it takes. I'm not going anywhere. For a long moment, Amy doesn't say anything. She just looks at him, her heart torn between the life she's built and the life she once dreamed of with Ty. Her eyes search his face, and for the first time in years, she sees the man she once loved, the man who has returned, humbled and remorseful, ready to make amends. Then, finally, she speaks. I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you, Ty, but I'm willing to try. I can't promise anything, but maybe we can start over. A small, tentative smile forms on Ty's face, and he nods. That's all I'm asking for, Amy. A chance to start over. In that moment, something shifts between them. It's not an instant fix, but it's a beginning, a small, fragile step toward healing the wounds of the past. And for the first time in years, Amy feels a spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, they can find their way back to each other. As Ty and Amy share their quiet, yet poignant moment on the porch, the rest of the Heartland family begins to process the shock of his return. The reunion, filled with tears and heartfelt apologies, is still fresh in everyone's minds. Each member of the family, in their own way, has felt the loss of Ty Borden deeply. His absence created a space that no one could ever fill. And now, after so many years, that void is finally being confronted. It's a moment of reckoning for them all, one that will force each of them to reevaluate the impact of his return, not just on Amy, but on the entire family. Jack, the steadfast patriarch of the family, stands in the doorway of the house, his hand resting on the frame as he watches Ty and Amy from a distance. He's seen it all. His daughter Marion's tragic death, the growing pains of Amy's grief, and the struggle to hold the family together. But Ty's return brings up emotions Jack hasn't allowed himself to feel in years. His weathered face, often a mask of strength, now reflects something more raw. Relief, joy, and maybe even a bit of fear. For Jack, Ty was more than just Amy's husband. He was a young man he mentored, a man who grew into something more than Jack ever expected. When Ty left, it had cut deep, and for years, Jack had carried that pain, pretending it didn't affect him. But now, seeing Ty standing there on the ranch, a flood of old memories and emotions comes rushing back. It takes Jack a few moments to steady himself. His jaw tightens, his chest rises and falls with a heavy breath. Finally, he steps forward, walking slowly toward Ty. His eyes are soft, but there's still that ever-present toughness in his demeanor. "Well, took you long enough, son," Jack says, his voice cracking just slightly. His usual gruffness is tinged with something more, something that speaks volumes about how much he's missed Ty. Ty, unable to hold back his own emotions, smiles faintly, a small chuckle escaping his lips. "I'm sorry, Jack. I really am." The words are simple, but they carry the weight of years of regret, and Jack's expression shifts as he steps closer to Ty. Without a word, Jack pulls Ty into a hug, a fatherly, unspoken gesture that encapsulates all the years of loss, pain, and, most of all, love.